Sitting here for a minute to see if anyone shows up to the live. I know that my channel is fairly new, so and I don't have a whole lot of subscribers, so I never know if someone's going to show up or not. At any rate, I'm a couple minutes early, and I'm just sitting here getting my notes together for the topic of wrapping up the Gangstalking series that I have been diving deep in for the last couple of videos. For those of you who may be confused about my channel, because I jump around from the narcissistic empath dynamic, I jump around from the healing, and then I jump back and forth to gang stalking and tarot card reading. That's the way my brain works. That's just the way that my brain works, yeah? So for those of you who may be confused about what my channel represents, it represents how my brain works. And topics that interest me, yes? So I may talk about anything from astrology to gang stalking, from self-healing to tarot card reading. Yeah, so that's just how my brain works. So yeah. So I'm just sitting here with my note, getting my notes together and giving people time to come into the room if they're going to come into the room. And at exactly 6 is when I'll start the topic. So I have about 1 minute actually. So I hope that you all have had a good weekend, yeah, and you're prepared for the upcoming week to come. Excuse me, ice got stuck. So it's 6 o'clock, yeah. And so I said I was going to start at exactly 6 p.m. CT time, which is, what time it is here in Texas. So over the last couple of videos that I've created, I went over the what I perceive gang stalking to be, right? And so I went over something that I referred to as the 5 W's, and the 5 W's were the who, what, when, where, and why gang stalking occurs. And then I kind of went over the actual 4 main tactics that America has used and Germany, Europe has used to gang stalk people through mind control and through mind control tactics. Basically, it's a form of no-touch torture is what it's referred to as. And so apparently I'm behind the power curve on this, which I just hadn't been really paying much attention to it. But as I do my research, there's a lot of people that this has happened to. One of the things that they say is that people kind of get together and they start feeding each other's imagination. And the more you feed one another's imagination, the more real gang stalking is, right? And so I tend to disagree with that and the reason I disagree with that is because of the fact that you have to recognize the gang stalking before you go research it. Like, I was oblivious to this. Now, I did know that there was a narcissistic thing going on where the narcissistic family members, narcissistic people in your spiritual community, narcissistic people at your job. Now, I was familiar with that, but I wasn't referring to that as gang stalking. I was just referring it to, being an empath, being a chosen empath, and then wherever you go, people coming against you, right? So so you can go back and look at the videos of the 5 W's, right? Of the who, what, when, where, and why. And then the top 3 mind control tactics that America and Europe has used. And which one is the Zherzung tactic that was used in Germany, COINTELPRO that was used here in the States, MK Ultra that was used here in the States, to even go back further to 1692 to 1693, the Salem witch trials, which was also a form of gang stalking. And what they did was they burned people at the stake who they perceived to be witches because they had knowledge about healing and things of that sort. Well, apparently this gang stalking is still going on. Like I said, I've always known that people came against me all the time, but I never referred to it as gang stalking. And when I went to go do research, that's when I found out that, yo, this is a real thing, you know? And so there's levels to it. And so the levels, they start off, you know, like you're gang stalked from the minute you're born, but when they get ready to show it to you to where they want you to actually see it for what it is, there's levels to that, right? And so they'll start off with the honey traps, you know, bringing people into your life, and then you'll be gang stalked at your job or at your school. Your home boundaries will be crossed in your home, like people who come in to provide a service or something like that, the exterminator, the guy that fixed the air conditioner or the refrigerator, or the person that mows your grass. They'll cross boundaries, right, and make it obvious that they're crossing boundaries. It elevates to like highway mobbing, where you're harassed and when you're driving, you're harassed. Yeah. And the harassment can be anything from them revving their engines or putting on their brights and tail lighting you. And they're always in these big trucks. Well, I drive a truck myself, so it's not as intimidating for me, but I can imagine if I was in a car and this big truck with these lights came behind me, how intimidating that would be. But it's intimidating in my truck as well, because it's like they rev their engines, they drive up to you really, really fast, they turn on their bright lights, and they tailgate you. You can see them, like they're revving their engines. You can see them coming from way back, that they're coming really, really fast, that if you were to slightly hit your brakes, they would smash into the back of you. Yeah. And so it elevates to the highway mobbing. They'll do stuff like drive up behind you really, really close and then swerve over into the other lane and then get in front of you. Yeah. Or else I've had some run, like I'm going the speed limit, and I've had them run the red light, go really, really fast through the red light. I'm coming this way. They go right in front of me. And if I hadn't have been going the speed limit, if I had been speeding myself, I would have slammed into them. There was one, and then they do stuff like if you're sitting still, they'll park catty corner to you with their lights on and just have their bright lights blared on you. Now, when this first happens, you think, well, maybe they don't see me sitting in the car. Maybe they don't have their lights on. And you're not really bothered by it. But when they see that you're not bothered by it, you're not responding anyway, then they'll drive really, really fast and at the last minute turn off as if they were about to slam into the side of your vehicle. So the tactics elevate. I look back on it, like I said, and realize that it's been happening my whole life. But here this last year, I've had to have, in 2025, I've had to get like 5 new debit cards, because my debit cards kept being violated in some way. You know, I don't know if that was part of it, but I just kept having all these issues with my debit card, where I had to get like 5 different debit cards. And you know, every time you get a debit card, you got to go change. If you have any automatic bills, you got to go change that. It's just a pain, yeah. And so the finances have been tampered with, the highway mobbing, actually coming home and things being moved on my front porch, things that have been sitting stationary for a really long time. And now all of a sudden plants and stuff are knocked over. I mentioned in one of the other videos how my garden had been violated from a guy who's been cutting my grass forever, never had any problems with him. Now all of a sudden my backyard was violated, my garden was messed up. And so then there's a lot of street theater as well. And where there's more than one of them, right? There's more than one of them. There'll be like 4 or 5 of them, and they'll be performing some stupid street theater. It's quite funny, but then again, it's scary too. And you're like, why? You know, why me? You know, and so it's just hard to believe. Your mail can be tampered with. Yeah, your mail can be tampered with. I've had Amazon packages sent to my house with my name, my address on it. And then it's not anything that I ordered. It'll be some weird stuff that comes in the mail, yeah. And so it'll be like I had this come in the mail. It's some type of 2-way audio speaker, yeah. And I'm just gonna take it to the thrift store. I've had this crazy stupid thing come in the mail. Some type a socket fan light that you can screw up in the ceiling and have a ceiling fan if you don't have one. Pretty cool gadget, but I don't need it. Yeah, I didn't order it. And then I had something here. It looks like something, some type of Thanksgiving something. I didn't even open it. And so I'll just throw that stuff and put it, every periodically I go to the to the thrift store, and I just get rid of a bunch of stuff. That'll be some of the stuff that I get rid of. So they do stuff like that, right? And the goal is to destabilize the person, to destabilize them, yeah? To destabilize them and to isolate them. Now, a lot of us thrive in isolation, yeah? And so when that doesn't work, they level it up. They level up the tactics. So some of the things I spoke earlier on the video also where I was speaking about how they uh, how do they know where the targeted individual is at, and they have apps. They have an app called I think it's called geofencing, where once the targeted individual goes outside of a certain perimeter, then they know about it. They're alerted, and then they know whichever one of the gang stalkers are closest by, then they just take on the assignment to go do whatever gang stalking they do. And these gang stalkers have been trained. Yeah, they've been trained. Now, where the spiritual part of it comes in is that you have to be low vibrational energy to volunteer for something like that. You have to be low vibrational energy to volunteer for something like that. And so that's where the spiritual part comes in at. And yeah. And so these people have been trained, right? And they work at different levels. I think the ones that are at the ones that do that dangerous stuff where they cut you off and stuff like that, they're at a higher level. They've been doing it a little longer. And who they hire, I was hoping that that I could come on the live and people would share their experiences, but I'm not so sure that's going to happen, and that's okay. But I think what they do is when they I'll be wrapping up the gang stalking series because I'm not going to be spending my whole life speaking about this topic. But what they do is they hire these people, right? And these people can be people like ex-gang members, or they can be someone who's like an informant, or someone who is I don't know, someone who's been in trouble and they're trying to get out of that trouble. So they work with the informants. And in all actuality, if they wear down a targeted individual enough to where that person is so mentally wore down, and they just want it to stop. They just want the gang stalking to stop. And the only way that they can make the gang stalking stop is to become a gang stalker themselves. Now that is a possibility as well, because it's psychological, no-touch torture. Someone comes into your house and moves something, that is a violation. I mean, your whole safety net has been disrupted. And so if your home should be your safe space. And if it's not your safe space, then you're walking around, you don't feel safe in it, then you can't sleep. You can't eat, you can't, stuff like that will eventually happen. Now, my house has not been invaded thus far outside of people that I've asked to come in, and then they are part of the gang stalking system. Like, for example, the exterminator, or the person that's fixing the air conditioner, or the cable guy, And a lot of those were before I picked up on the gang stalking thing, but I felt uneasy about them being in my home. Like my instincts, I felt uneasy. Like I didn't feel safe. When service people come into your home, you don't feel no type of way. They're extremely professional. They have a name badge. They introduce themselves at the door. They wait to be invited in. But these people just walk right in. They don't have no name badge. It's usually from some family-owned business. Yeah. And so it's a different energy. Like, things are certainly changing. The new world is certainly creating itself, and the old world is vibrating off, and the old world is kicking and screaming as it vibrates off. But in order for the new world to evolve, they first have to make people who are not NPCs, people who are what they identify as targeted individuals. Targeted individuals are usually someone who has been inside the system in some way, like they've either been in the prison system, they've been in the hospital system, they've been in the military system, they've been in the education system, they've been in the pharmaceutical system, something of that sort, and they are going against these systems. And that's what makes them become a targeted individual. Yeah. So they're agents. Yeah, agents. They're agents, and they basically they try to wear down the targeted individual. And then I think what they potentially end up doing is when the targeted individual gets so wore down that they can't take it, they start giving the targeted, offering the targeted individual positions. Yeah. I've had everything from homeless people to so-called professionals that walk with this energy to just complete strangers. Yeah. So it's been quite interesting. And I mean, like I said, it's been going on. And I was just fine with it. You know, I've been just fine. But somehow recognizing that it's gang stalking and them amping it up and then crossing my safe boundaries, right? Crossing my safe boundaries, it's manifested into something else, if that makes sense. Before I was just like, people are demonic, they're just assholes. They, you know, I realized that I'm chosen, that I'm an empath. I realized this, and so I, you know, but this, and another thing is that I'm kind of curious as to how it's connected to narcissism. Because the second that I broke away from the narcissistic empathic dynamic is when the gang stalking amped up. I mean, literally, like the second. And so I'm not sure how that is. My hope was tonight that people would come on and give me some feedback on things that they've experienced and you know, or what they perceive it to be. But it doesn't look like that's going to happen. So I'm probably not going to stay on here and just keep rattling on about it. Yeah. While you watch me and you're not necessarily engaging, because that's what the lives are for. So, it's only been 15 minutes. Yeah. So, it's just something that's happening. And it's happening to a lot of people. Right. And it's kind of it makes people hyper vigilant, always looking and watching to see what's going to happen, because the thing with them is that it's the element of surprise that they thrive on, to catch you by surprise. And they feed on that energy when they catch you by surprise. Yeah. The spiritual aspect of it is that narcissism is not a mental health issue. It's a demonic possession, right? And so me breaking away from the narcissistic empath dynamic just simply like elevated the gang stalking, right? But we've made it this far and we'll make it further. You know, we come to this earth realm to learn certain things, and some of us are just spiritual warriors, and we get through it. And when we get through it, when it's almost like when we walk through the fire, when we go to hell and back, then we always come back with the medicine. We always come back with the medicine, and we can assist other people on their journey. That's what happens when you're a spiritual warrior. I just didn't see this coming like this, right? I didn't see it. And so now I'm like, okay, now in my mind, I'm trying to maneuver it and figure out what it is, basically. And you can go down a rabbit hole with YouTube in it and listen to other people's YouTubes. You can seriously go down a rabbit hole, because a lot of people that are speaking about it, some of them are like, they have their voices altered, their videos are all creepy. They're just, you know, or you can tell that they make it weird instead of saying what it is. Instead of saying what it is, their videos are weird. You know, there's a few people that I follow that just have a conversation, just like I'm doing right now. It's a conversation like, this is what's going on. But there's some people that make their videos weird, and they got these altered voices and this scary music in the background. I'm like, dude, I don't need all that. What I need is to share with me what's happened to you. That's what I need. I don't need all that altered stuff and do 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 do. But gang stalking is very interesting. The street theater is unbelievable. Some of the stuff that they do. And you know that your phone is tapped because they will say stuff like I will put on my yoga playlist to do my yoga for the day. And then I'll go out in public and somebody will walk up to me, somebody I don't even know, and say something to the effect of, did you do your yoga today? You know, or I wish I could be like you. I wish I could just walk around the store and browse. You know, like they just say weird stuff as if they know me and they don't really know me. If it was just that, it'd be cool. I don't care, you know. Everybody knows that our phones can be tapped and people and blah blah blah. But it's the stuff that makes you feel unsafe that's not cool. You know, the highway mobbing. The highway mobbing. Yeah. They're driving by you real fast and yelling something out the window while you're working out. If you hadn't seen the other video, I had a dude do that a couple of days ago. He rode by, I was walking through a construction area. But his vehicle was like a construction vehicle, but it didn't have any markings on it. Like all the other vehicles had their label of what their business was and stuff. But this vehicle didn't have any labeling on his vehicle. And they drove by extremely fast. It's like 25 miles an hour in my neighborhood. I'm right across from an elementary school. And he drove by really fast and yelled out the window, mega for life, USA forever. Now, mind you, all the people that are working in the construction site, they have drills going, they got their darts going for the roofing, and there's all kinds of hammering going on, cement pouring, and so it was pretty loud. But I heard what he said when he came around the corner. He skirted around the corner, going extremely fast, about 35, 40 miles an hour in a neighborhood that's 20 miles an hour. So he's going really fast for this neighborhood, and he yelled out the window, mega for something, mega forever, USA for life, or something like that. I looked over at the Hispanic people to see if they had heard him say that or did they respond to him. And it was so loud, they were still working. They're not really looking for that. Like, I have my head on the swivel. And that's another thing people say. Well, once you think it's happening, now you get hyper-vigilant and you just start seeing it everywhere. They make it real obvious. It's not something like you could just say, I'm not talking about seeing the same color of car and stuff like that. I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about they make it obvious, some of the things they say and do. Yeah, they make it obvious. When they're ready for you to like see that you are being gang stalked, when they're ready to suck you into that game completely. I want to say that it's happening because you've gotten promoted in the spirit realm in some way, right? Now, it happens to people that are homeless. It doesn't matter your 3D status. It's your spiritual status that provokes this in this 3D realm. And so when you get promoted spiritually, basically, new levels, new devils. I kind of created like a 12-step program because I have like 8 planets in the 8th house, the house of the occult, the house of the unknown, the house of hidden knowledge, and all 8 of those planets are in Virgo. And so I'm going to analyze some shit. If something is occurring, I'm going to research it and dig deep into it. For those of you who didn't see, you also get harassed in the mail. I received some stupid little speaker here, and I received some ceiling fan here in the mail. I didn't order this stuff, but it came in my name, and I received some Thanksgiving decorations or something like that in the mail. So they also harass you through the mail, yeah? And so I created like a 12-step journey of the harassed individuals, yeah? It's a 12-step journey that I just kind of created because I couldn't figure out what's going on. But since it's happening from birth, it happens with your natal chart. Your natal chart is it's a snapshot of the sky the second that you're born, where all the planetary systems, the moon, the sun, the stars, where all the other celestial bodies are in the sky. And your natal chart is basically like a blueprint of your journey. And so they know your natal chart. They know your spiritual journey before you even leave the hospital. The second you're born, they know your spiritual journey. This is one of the reasons that I think they stopped putting the time of birth on people's birth certificates. Back in my day, you had the time of birth on your birth certificates, but they stopped putting the time of birth on people's birth certificates because in knowing the time of birth, it narrows down your astrological chart. So it starts with the natal chart where they know your calling, right? And then they know that you're one of the chosen. And then you move on to your family. So you're gang stalked from the hospital where they're looking at your research. They may be even looking at your bloodline as well. Yeah. And then it goes to the family, and the chosen is the black sheep, and they have early conditioning to the narcissistic empathic dynamic. And then from there, you kind of like, you're outcasted from the family. And then you go into, once you're outcasted from the family, then, you're not welcome in the family anymore. You start going into your relationships with people, other people, and it's usually a narcissistic dynamic. And in that part is where you get a lot of your trauma. You get a lot of your trauma from your family, right? Being outcasted, the black sheep, and scapegoated. And then when you finally get away from the family, or you move away from the family, basically you just grow up. You may not have moved away from the family yet, so they may still be doing those abusive tactics. But you go into the narcissistic relationship. A lot of empaths, especially chosen empaths, end up in narcissistic relationships where there's a lot of abuse that occurs. Yeah, it could be SA from somebody you're married to. Yeah, it could be poisoning from somebody you're married to. Yeah. It could be all different types of abuse: physical abuse, mental abuse, spiritual abuse, sexual abuse. And that could go on for years. Because a lot of times the unhealed empath will get into a relationship, and then they will get out of that relationship, and they think, okay, I'm going to go on and live my life and be happy. And they jump right back into another narcissistic relationship. And a lot of empaths can do this 2, 3, some people do it 4 times before they realize that, okay, the relationship thing is not for me. Once they finally break away from the relationship thing, right? They still have hope of a relationship, but they're not married anymore. They go on their healing journey. And within their healing journey is when they begin to awaken. They slowly awaken, right? They slowly start seeing stuff. And so then they become the truth sayer. This is when the narcissistic family breaks completely off, when they become the truth sayer. When they go through their initial awakening, they start saying, wait a minute, this is not right. This has been going on forever. It's not right. And then they continue on their healing journey, and eventually the third eye starts opening. When the third eye starts opening, right, and that's step 6, they go on to step 7, because the third eye starts opening. They start receiving occult knowledge. Now, occult means things that are unknown, things that are unseen. They start receiving the hidden knowledge. And then once that happens, they can start receiving that by this time they're in their career, and they can start seeing that, right? You can't really say anything because you got to finish your career, or you need your job and stuff like that, so you don't want to get fired. And they start moving away from the matrix. Once they start getting that occult knowledge, they start moving away from the matrix, which is what I have as step 8. They move away from the matrix. And when they move away from the matrix, they start, I'm not taking your pharmaceuticals. I'm not doing this job. I'm not whatever. I'm not voting because it doesn't make any difference. Whatever it is they're doing, they're basically protesting. And then they go into, after they start moving away from the matrix, then they start going on their healing journey. They're always on their healing journey. They're always trying to figure out what's going on, but they start diving deeper in their healing journey. Yeah. Once they get to a certain level of their healing, they're not in that career thing anymore. They're not, they decenter relationships. So they're not in that narcissistic empath dynamic. They start becoming truth sayers. They may start a platform. They just may start speaking the truth openly. Like they've known the truth for a while, but they may start speaking the truth openly. And that's when they become a threat to the system. Yeah. And so then it goes from the narcissistic empath dynamic of the narcissistic family, the narcissistic gang stalking at the job, the narcissistic relationships. It jumps from that. The person has completely moved away from that. And then it goes into the gang stalking of the narcissistic system. That's when the psychological no-touch torture begins. It's an experiment. Because you say, well, why me? It's an experiment. Just like the experiments that we spoke about that have been going on within over the decades, yeah? With the Zerzetzung in Europe, the COINTELPRO, MK Ultra, and even the Salem witch trials. This is nothing new. I guess it's new to y'all because y'all aren't conversing with me. So I guess I'm just here to share tonight, and that's fine too. I was hoping that people would share their experiences and then and kind of converse back and forth, but that's not the case tonight, okay? But it's a psychological warfare, and if they can get your mind, then they got you. If they can get your mind, they got you. And so that's what they're doing. They're trying to get your mind. I kind of went over all this stuff in the other videos, and my hope was that I could converse back and forth with people who had been going through it. But I guess I'm not knowledgeable enough on the topic to, or my YouTube channel isn't established enough to have conversations back and forth with people on the topic. And that's okay. Everybody has to do the work and grow. So this is just part of the work that I'm doing. Yeah. I don't really have much more to say about it outside of, because like I said, my hope was that we can converse back and forth. So I don't really have much more to say about it. I've made a few videos on the topic of gang stalking and what I suspect it to be, yeah. But yeah, it's like being in some type of hologram, some type of video game, some type of matrix, some type of, someone said it was like the Truman Show, and I still haven't got around to watching that. Maybe I'll watch it tonight. But someone said it was like that, yeah? Well, that's all I have for you today here on Closing the Gap. Thank you for tuning into the live. I appreciate you. Like I said, the topic isn't known enough maybe to have a conversation back and forth, or maybe I'm just not established enough on my platform to invite people to have, maybe I jumped the gun on that, yeah? But I just wanted some outside, I guess some outside input to see if other people had been going through anything like had experienced some of the things that I've been experiencing. But maybe I'll come back at another time when I'm a little more established, and maybe not, because this topic is draining. It's literally draining. Yeah, it's draining. So yeah, if you like my energy, please don't forget to like and subscribe. Leave a comment. And if you're really feeling my vibe, don't forget to hit that bell notification so that you know the next time that I upload. We'll see you next time here on Closing the Gap. You guys have a great evening. Yeah.